Welcome, ladies and gentlemen, to Future Tech Talk, episode 36. It is a gorgeous day down here at the ballpark. It's pretty hard not to smile when the sun is smiling at you, isn't that right, folks? Okay, what can we talk about? How about the aftermath of Sora? It's been approximately 1 week since OpenAI shared its glorious creation with all of us. And the reception of it has been pretty expected, I think is a good way to put it. A lot of people are scared, a lot of people are emotional, and I'd like to talk a little bit about that. If you're interested in other topics, there will be some timestamps in the description below. Feel free to skip around. Maybe I can start with how I wasn't feeling that good last weekend. It was a little on the edge of burnout. That's what it felt like to me, and I was trying to think of, why is that happening? What was wrong? Why was I so agitated? And this is what I wrote down in my notes. Is it 'cause the music at the gym sucked? Now, the gym I go to has some really great background music during the week. The owner is a cool guy. He knows the vibe that people want when they're working out. Now, this might come off as a personal preference thing, but I think there is a generally agreed on style of background music that just fits for everybody. There certainly is a type of music that it's pretty hard to complain about. It's not exactly noticeable, and it vibes well with the idea of working out. But on the weekends, the owner is not there, and oh my god, the music is terrible. Absolutely terrible. Nobody would want to work out to this. And they play it so much louder, and they play some interesting songs that you would not play if children were around, and children were around. Some people bring their kids to the gym. Like, there's just like a little kid sitting on a bench, and they have to listen. Okay, so that might have been one of the reasons I was agitated. That's fine. Was I agitated because I'm stressing about creating my first ever course, a mid-journey beginner course? Now, I thought I had this thing done like a month ago and that I was ready to film. And then as I'm preparing it and practicing, I just realized, oh, well, this could be said better. And you try and put yourself in the shoes of somebody taking your course, and you start thinking, well, would they want another example at this point? So now I build out some more examples, and there's all these different chapters, and if you keep building out in different chapters, a month later, I'm still working on it, and I still have more work to do. Like, maybe that's what was getting me, is that I just had a lot of work, and I was doing a lot of work, like hours and hours a day, just chipping away at this course, so much so that I had to not post a video last week on my main channel, and I let the audience know, and you guys make me feel very, very grateful for your presence and your support. So maybe it was the course that was getting me a little agitated. But maybe it was Sora. Maybe witnessing that evolution made me more uncomfortable for a longer period of time than I was expecting. I knew I didn't like it when I saw it, but you try and move forward, but your subconscious just can't. Maybe it was the music at the gym, maybe it was busy working on the course, but maybe it was the AI. And I say maybe it was the AI because the more, we'll just call it testimony, you read online about people's reaction to that product, to Sora and its capabilities, the more you can start to relate in some way. Like, personally don't like to really put my emotions out online. It's not my style. But other people had no problem showing how emotional they were. This technology gets to people. And rightfully so. I don't disagree with any of them. A lot of people are scared. A lot of people don't know why it was created. And I'm just like, yeah, this is crazy. You can only believe so much of what you see online in terms of other people telling you stories. So if someone says, yeah, I work in an advertising agency and we had to have an emergency meeting yesterday because of OpenAI's announcement. Like, did that really happen? Like, probably, but again, like, I don't know. So all I can say is that my predictions were kind of correct, at least in the peripheral vision of it. People are scared of this thing. OpenAI showed us what Sora is currently in order to prepare us for the future. I don't think anyone's prepared. I think everyone's really scared. In fact, I saw a tweet made by somebody, a pretty, I'll say, relatively famous person in the production space on YouTube. I'm not going to call him out by name. I have no bad feelings towards this person. I don't want to single them out. It's really not about them. It's just more the sentiment that they said they really thought it would be 5 years before they had to worry about that sort of lifelike video. And I saw that and it bothered me so much. I'm trying to think of why it bothered me. And I think it just comes down to, like, if people listen to what you say about your given area of expertise, because you're trustworthy, because you're most often right about your specialty, when you talk about other things, I think you need to be careful, because even if you're not an expert in these other avenues, people still associate you with expertise. And if you know so much about something, well, you must know enough about this other thing to have like a pretty good idea of what you're talking about. So for this expert to say, oh, I thought we had 5 years, the first thought that came to my mind is like, oh, you're the problem. Like, you were so wrong, and who knows how many people you stopped from being prepared. How much false confidence and false security did you give people? I don't know if he ever said this on a podcast. I don't know. And again, it's not just about him. It's about everyone who saw all the advancements up until this point and thought, oh, well, it's never good. We still have a lot of time before it comes for us. And it's like, okay, even if that was true, even if you had 5 years, you should have started preparing now. If you saw an asteroid coming for Earth and it was going to take 5 years, why would you not start preparing? When would you start preparing? A year away from it getting to you? A few months? No, you'd probably start when you found out. So if you thought it was 5 years away, you should have spoken to your audience in a way for them to start making preparations. Because if it was always going to come, it's always important to prepare. And who knows how many people shrugged it off, and then all of a sudden Sora shows up and lifelike video for 30 seconds at a time is just able to be created. Now, I know there are some criticisms of Sora. We don't know how many attempts it took. Maybe they generated 1,000 times and selected the best ones. Maybe the processing power to create these videos is just so immense that it's not practical for it to spread very quickly. Like, that's a real argument against the technology. But if anyone tells you, oh, we're far away from any of this happening, we're far away from any of these AIs from getting better and taking jobs, like, I always come back to this one main point, one main argument, is that the people making these things didn't do this by accident. It is their goal. They are trying to create this technology. They're trying to create AGI. They're very open about saying that. Do not bet against humans, I think, is the main point. Do you see all the science that we have? We have vaccines. Do you know what a vaccine is? Could you relay that information to somebody 100 years ago or 300 years ago? Like, we're so far advanced because humans wanted to be. Why would you start betting against us now? If there are humans out there, collections of humans, trying to achieve a goal, they're probably going to do it. As far as I know, we've had people on the moon because they wanted to get there. Pretty sure we're going to end up on Mars someday because one guy in particular really wants to get there. And then a lot of people agree with him and they're all trying as a unit. If you don't think AI is ever going to create movies and TV shows for you, and if you don't think AI is ever going to replace you as a lawyer, oh my God, it sounded like a crazy person talking about how their job is never going to be affected by AI for reasons X, Y, and Z. It's just like, what are you talking? Do you not see all of the jobs that AI is affecting? Why would yours be any different? If somebody wanted your job to be, it doesn't have to be replaced, but if you made someone mad enough by saying, oh, I'm untouchable, AI can never do my job, that's basically just like a public challenge. Why are you challenging people to upend your way of life? If if there was a group of smart people and they wanted your job to be done by an AI, they would accomplish it. And again, maybe it's just a power issue. So maybe it is 5 years away, but it's 5 years away. Like, start preparing as if it's coming tomorrow, because you're going to wake up one day and it's going to be here. And on that note of people being wrong about their predictions, I will give a lot of credit to YouTube advisors. Maybe that's not the right word. People on YouTube who give advice about YouTube. A lot of them have had like really mature opinions about AI. They're not emotional. They're very, I don't know, is pragmatic the right word? They're just like, they're trying to tell people that, hey, this stuff is coming. Look how good it is now. You should know about it. You should know YouTube's view on AI. YouTube doesn't really want entire production lines of videos made by AI. But at the same time, I don't think they really care as long as it's disclosed that it's made by AI. That's sort of the feeling I get right now. But I've had these little sort of like trauma reactions to watching really short clips of something crazy happening. Just like, you know, maybe it's a crazy clip from a party of a guy jumping through a table. Like, yes, that happens all the time. It's probably happening right now, this very second. But really soon, it doesn't have to be real. And my brain has already started, like, signaling that alarm. Like, whoa, this doesn't have to be real. And, like, right now, you, like, probably is real, but soon, it doesn't have to be. And now, is that going to hinder your enjoyment of something? Does it matter if it's real, if your brain gets the same dose of experience? Okay, I might have to rant about this because it's still in my head. I saw someone just very opinionated talking about how AI is never going to be able to generate you a movie or a TV show because that's not how licensing works. Like, you'll never be able to see a Mr. Beast video starring SpongeBob and Walter White because that's not how anything works. It's like, okay, sure. But why do people have such strong opinions about things that nobody could possibly know? Licensing used to be a huge deal in the entertainment industry. And there wasn't much collaboration. People didn't really work well together. Everyone was very protective of their intellectual property. And I'm trying to think of when that all changed. And maybe, I don't know if this was the first, but it's one of the first ones that comes to mind is Sony allowing Spider-Man to appear in the MCU. Tom Holland appearing in Civil War, the event in Captain America Civil War, is that what it's called? That was a big moment. Like, that had never really happened before, but it was two companies determining that it became a win-win for them both. And the other reason why I think you'll be able to generate whatever you want in the future is because of Fortnite. Fortnite has clearly proven that the new age of businessmen, businesswomen, it's not gendered, the new age of people working in these very important jobs, they understand collaboration is better. It works. What advantage do you get from not having your characters in Fortnite? Who's that helping? You give Epic Games your characters for Fortnite. Now Peter Griffin's there. The Ninja Turtles are there. Everybody is in Fortnite. And I think that just proves the point that the way collaborations and licenses used to work came from a very old school way of looking at things. And that's just not how the world works anymore. So with generative AI, you're telling me it's just you're never going to be able to put your favorite characters in the same TV episode? Like, why not? Who's going to say no? As long as the money's there, yeah, like what? Why are you betting against something that people want to happen? I don't know. What do you think? I'm looking through my notes for this podcast, and so many of these topics are framed in the negative. I don't know. Maybe I really just have been agitated this week. And I normally use this podcast as a therapy session in a way, you know, just speaking my mind about things that I don't really get to talk about with anyone in my life because they don't understand. Maybe that's another thing I can mention about Sora. I haven't talked to my family about it. I haven't talked to my friends about it. It's such a... I feel kind of like a coward that I like don't want to bring this up because I know what their reaction is going to be. they're just gonna be like, oh great, an asteroid's coming, like what do you want me to do about it? And it's like, yeah, I know, right? It's like I don't even want to broach that conversation with them. I'd rather, like, you just want to let them be happy, knowing that their mood would fall more towards mine than wherever they are currently. I don't want to do that to them. There's a lot of topics, a lot of philosophical topics that are just like better left unmentioned. Like changing somebody's view on reality, it's a bit of a virus in its own right. Like you don't want to infect people with these really difficult to process thoughts. At least that's how I feel about it. Okay, I'll try and talk about these things without getting too negative, even though what I wrote down was basically me being annoyed with something. Not angry. You don't get angry at mosquitoes, but they're annoying, right? Like you don't love mosquitoes. You don't hate them. It's not passionate. It's just like, oh, can you like please stop? like just a sigh of more of this. And I see a lot of posts online about people thinking that we are not near AGI and we might never get to AGI because they think that humans are special. Like that's what like their thesis turns into. Like everyone who thinks we're close to AGI is crazy. We're not close to AGI. We might never get there because a computer can never do what a human can do. A computer can never create art in a way a human creates art. And to me, like that way of thinking sounds so ego-driven. Like you can craft your thoughts in any way. You can craft your arguments in any way. When you type something on the internet and you post it, you can edit it before you hit enter. Like you can display your idea in a multitude of ways. To hit enter and post something that loops back to like yourself and like, oh, it can't do this because of me. Why do you think you're special? Haven't you seen AI grow enough to like realize that, oh, we're not that special? We are so not special that ChatGPT can mimic us. It doesn't even have to be us in order for it to look like us and to talk like us. Isn't that the point? You could say that, oh, it's not really us, so therefore it's not special. It's not doing it how we think we're doing it. But isn't that the point? It's like it can do what we do without needing to be us. Doesn't that make us completely not special? Wouldn't that make it so that any civilization out there could create the human language communication experience if all you have to do is reinforcement learning on some predictive models? Like, isn't that the point? That we are actually not that special? And these people that say AGI won't happen, like, you know, if you read between the lines, like, I think they're only saying it because they don't want it to happen. It has nothing to do with, like, reality and whether it's going to. It's just like, oh, humans are special, so therefore a computer can't do what we do. Dog can do it better than us. Like, what's the point in denying reality? I don't get it. How does that help anybody? What's the point in lying? Even like a white lie. You're not advancing anything. You're just hindering people. Because there are certain people who want the truth. And if you actively try to avoid telling the truth or deny reality, and I think that's the same thing. If you do that, like one, like you're only helping yourself emotionally, just saying something that makes you feel better. And you're, I don't want to say hurting, but you're hindering a large group of people, whoever reads that and thinks that you're telling the truth because you know something that they don't, when it's the opposite. You don't know. In fact, they probably know more than you, but they're a little self-doubt inflicted and you're kind of making them teeter when if you hadn't shouted your opinion, maybe they'd be growing a little more comfortable with their insecurity and maybe it would be less of an insecurity. I don't know what I'm trying to say. I just think it's really irresponsible to treat this modern day technology with emotion. Like, I think everyone should just take some deep breaths and just try and solve the problems as they appear in front of us without thinking that we're special. Like, what? Everybody can post online. There are no restrictions. to posting online. So you get the worst of the worst, you get the best of the best. But so much of this digital pollution is damaging to the preparation that other brains are going to have to go through. I don't have any answers, but maybe you're starting to see why I was so agitated, irritated. I don't know, having a better week now. So maybe I don't have to dwell on this for too long. Okay, one more thing that bugs me. God, this episode's... I don't mind being a gloomer, but I don't like spreading my frustration with people. Like, it's just... I don't know, I don't think it's good luck. But something else that bothered me was somebody posted, a big announcement is coming soon in the AI robotics space, but they can't tell us any more about it. It's like, okay, what are you doing? Is this, like, that is the worst display of social media I can think of. Like, hey, something cool happened behind the scenes, but I can't tell you about it. Like, then why are you posting it on the internet? This is like one of the most prototypical annoying things you can do is like, hey, I have a secret, but I can't tell you. Like, then why did you tell me you had a secret? What are you advancing? Like, what in your brain allowed you to go through that process of typing it out? And like, what reaction did you expect from people? Do you want a high five? Do you want applause? Do you want a million likes that you know something happened, but you can't tell anyone about it? I'm going to use a bit of a harsh word, but like, how immature is that part of your brain that you thought it was a good idea to tell people about something they can't know about? Like, woosah. I'm not angry. I don't understand people. I don't know why they want to contribute to the world in the ways they contribute. People who sign an NDA and then say, I can't tell you something because I signed an NDA, that should be like grounds for dismissal. Like, if you're going to suspend anybody on social media, can we start with those people? Like, it's the most, I'm going to use the word again, it's the most like immature action you can have. Like, our brains should not be able to broadcast to other brains. If that's the type of pulse you're going to go down, like, yeah, something you would never say to a group of people in person is something you should never say online. Like, bring back shame. Like, what are we doing, folks? Okay. Now we're going to talk about something I learned recently, a new word, a new concept, and it relates to the idea of communicating with aliens. And would we be able to do it? And I believe the man's name is Stephen Wolfram, who I heard speak recently on a podcast with Kurt Jaimungal. I hope I pronounced that correctly. It's a great podcast, A Theory of Everything. That show gets into some really deep scientific talk that, like, I cannot... If I'm surface level in a wide ocean, that show dives deep, talking about stuff on the bottom of the ocean. And I'm like, I can't. I'm not a diver. I'm an observer of the surface from a distance. And one of the things they were talking about was communicating with aliens and would it be possible? And Stephen Wolfram basically said, I don't want to put words in his mouth, but he's like, in the nicest way possible, like, obviously not. Like, there's no way we would be able to communicate with aliens. And it has to do with this concept of Rulial space. Rulial, I think. And Rulial space is about this, like, abstract framework for the position of thoughts between people in communicating, and how it's hard to communicate with distant minds. So you understand your own culture, the people you grew up around, the people in your hometown. If you saw them at a coffee shop, like, you would know maybe the phrases they use. You can use certain slang. Like, it's very easy to communicate with people that you've grown up near. And I think that makes sense for everyone. Like, that's, like, yes, everyone agrees. It is less easy, more difficult to understand people from different cultures. Not just the fact that it's a different culture, but that they grew up and lived far away from you. Like, you have no frame of reference. They're still human, but you understand them so much less, and they really don't understand you in the same way. You can speak and communicate and, like, get by pretty easily, but in comparison to, we'll just say, your family or your neighborhood, a foreign culture is way different I think, again, most people would agree that makes a lot of sense. Now you just extend that a little further to something not human, like a dog. You can get along with a dog really well. You can sort of understand what they're thinking sometimes. There's sort of agreed upon bridges that you can meet at that connect between a human and an animal, specifically a dog. But there was so much that you don't understand. It's really hard to communicate with a dog. Besides like these 4 or 5 bridges that, are commonly crossed. Bathroom, food, belly rubs. Are you tired? Oh, you don't feel well today. Oh, you're excited. But if you ask a dog, like, what's the weather like? Like, there is so much more we can't communicate with a dog than we can. Based on that concept of like shared Rulial space, I think Steven's point is that there's no way we could understand and communicate with aliens. They've grown up so far away from us on another planet that if we were ever face to face with them, their culture would have evolved so far away from ours that in Rulial space, it would be, maybe he doesn't think it would be impossible, but I'm saying, I kind of agree with this way of thinking that it would be impossible for us to communicate with them. The common ground is just, it's not there. It's light years away. Like, oh, that's fascinating. I never had thought about that before. It always seemed to me that, like, of course we'd be able to communicate with aliens for sure. But I guess I always thought of it as the aliens would be above us in some intellectual way that they would be able to communicate down, and that humans are advanced enough where we would be able to communicate up. If you ask a dog, which of these shirts is blue? Can you really teach it that this is blue? But I feel like if an alien was able to like point to something blue and then showed us an array of something and then sort of signaled that, like, how show us blue, we would be able to be like, oh yeah, that's... Do you know what I'm trying to say? Like, yes, humans can't communicate with dogs, but I feel like humans have surpassed some sort of line where if something was smarter than us, they would be able to communicate with us. Because there's like some sort of threshold that if you pass that, something becomes universal. Maybe it's just like an expressive nature. Maybe it's your vocal cords that are able to signal, danger or laughing or seriousness, like the way we can speak with our eyes. Like, surely that translates a lot farther than we know. And the other thing is that, let's say we traveled to an alien planet and we saw the natives. Maybe we couldn't communicate with them. Maybe they'd be like, oh my God, aliens. They'd call us the aliens. But if an alien was able to come here and they had the technology to do that, which means their civilization evolved in some sort of progression cadence to the point of travel, space travel, wouldn't they have to think similar to us? Like, wouldn't their brains have to process information in some similar way to us? Like, if 2 civilizations can produce technology, isn't there some sort of relationship there? Some sort of translation that, they built propulsion, we have propulsion, so like clearly at some point in our history, we would be able to understand each other. Like, doesn't that make sense? Doesn't that cross the gap of this Rulial space? Even if they're so far away, if we develop similar lines of just like progress of improvement, isn't that a uniting point? Like some sort of quantum entanglement, for lack of a better word, that, what we do is similar enough to something that they do that we would be able to talk, communicate. That's why I love listening to podcasts with people smarter than me, because I don't know if this is an ego-driven statement, but I always feel like I have something to offer that conversation. At least a question of like, well, wait, what about this? It might be a stupid question, like maybe he has an answer to my thought of like, oh, well, no, because their propulsion would be could be different than ours, and you could explain propulsion in 5 different ways, and if 4 of those ways were not the way we did it, then we wouldn't know. Like, maybe there's an answer to why progress doesn't have to be relatable. I'd love to hear from someone who knows more than me. And I feel like I could probe their knowledge base and sort of unravel it a little more for the layman like myself. Thank you for joining me in this episode. I'm sorry if I downloaded all of my irritations onto you. I appreciate you. I'd love to hear from you. Let me know what you're thinking and how you're handling this new world. I hope you're doing well. Take care, and I'll see you next time. Peace.